guys, welcome back to Anime Rewind, the podcast where we go back to our favorite anime series and we break it down episode by episode for y'all at home. My name's Brian. I'm here with my good friend James. Hey James, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Hey, everybody. Sorry this episode's a bit late. This one's on me. No further explanation.
Yeah, we we don't have to explain ourselves. All right, so this episode was called Active Interest. Was that it? Active
Yeah,
Interest?
active interest, which if you can justify that title, I don't think that I can. I don't see how that really makes sense, but it's not right. It's a catchy title.
Sure. And okay, so the episode starts off with Kione driving like a madman. They're chasing after these two mystery people who are in a van.
Yeah, so it's their van against the other van, and the other van's got the kidnappers from the other episode, who I guess, they must have gotten their van repaired since it flipped over in the Celtic car chase.
Oh, those are actually the same people from the second episode, was it?
Yeah, it's the same group of kidnappers. It's three people, but in the opening scene, there's just two of them in the car.
Right. Yes, I didn't even recognize them because they're such generic looking characters. But yeah, so that's how it starts, and then it's narrated by Kyohei, who is, he basically says like this is how it all started, and then we go back in time, and in the next scene we see a chat room where they're talking about like missing people who are just disappearing, that are untraceable because they are illegals in Japan. And some of the people are speculating that it had to do with the dollars, that maybe they're the people who are kidnapping these people.
Yeah, so it's the same chat room. They're kind of gossiping about missing people, and Karota is the narrator for this episode, and he's telling us about the infamous Kaztano incident.
Right. And what I thought was funny when they were gossiping in the chat is that one person suggests that the dollars are taking these people and eating them. I don't know if that's what it said in your version, but in the English dub, they say that they believe that the dollars are stealing these illegals and eating them.
Right. So there's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of weird rumors around the dollars, and there's also weird rumors about people disappearing, and as you say, mostly illegal immigrants.
Right. So then we see the men, the kidnappers from the previous chase scene, and they're seen breaking into a house that might be like a safe house for illegal immigrants in Japan. They're obviously breaking in there to kidnap them, and everyone starts losing their shit and running away. But one guy is in there, and he's got his earphones on, so he didn't hear the whole commotion. And they go up to him, and he turns around. He's obviously a foreigner, but he's like trying to convince the kidnappers otherwise, saying like, no, I'm Japanese. Don't see, I look like you. But he's like, I don't. Now I'm curious to see what nationality he was in the in the in the subtitles, because he was definitely Italian in the English dub.
So it's a little hard for me to tell. I think it was definitely a Japanese voice actor like doing a funny accent, but it sounded like vaguely European, and then the name Kaztano sounds Italian to me. Not that I know anything about Italian, but yeah. So they also apparently the professional kidnappers. They kidnapped the other girl in episode one, and now they're back at it. And they also mentioned that they were sent here as a good place to find people by an information broker, which I believe that's got to be Isaiah told them to, hey, check out this place.
Yeah, he's a douchebag. um, so, so yeah, Kyohei, he seems to know this Italian guy, and he receives a strange text from him, which is like, because his Japanese isn't good, he's like not good with his kanji. He sends him a text that says, "I broke a plate." And
Right.
they're like, "What the hell does this text mean? Why is he telling us that he broke a plate?"
Yeah.
Um,
And in the subtitles, they were like, yeah, and you can get a new plate for 100 yen. It's not a big deal.
right. And then like I think Erica suggests kiddingly like, "Oh, maybe he messed up his kanji and he meant I had been kidnapped." So apparently though the kanji for I broke a plate and I have been kidnapped are very similar.
Oh, what I think it is maybe they're composed of a lot of the same characters, but then when you make them into a kanji, they're completely different meaning.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so she says that jokingly, but we know as a viewer that that is actually what happened.
And throughout this whole scene, Walker and Erica are saying a lot of like crazy otaku stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's their shtick. um, so then we go to a scene where we see the kidnappers. They're trying to chloroform this guy that they've kidnapped, and one of the idiots ends up spilling it all over the place.
Right. And it gets all over one of their sweatshirts. And during all this time, one of them remarks that they had to pick up like a grody old man because they're scared to pick up any more high school girls in case, the headless rider comes after them again for that.
Right.
So they completely misunderstood that
I
situation.
know, yeah. That's like a really dumb assumption on their part, but I mean, they're supposed to be dumb, so it's pretty funny. Um, then the next scene is at Russia Sushi, and Mikata, Masome, and Sanohara there, and Sanohara seems worried that Mika might be one of these disappearing people that everyone's talking about.
Right. And then, the main character, who's just last episode, they were saying, like, oh, yeah, Mikado, you've got such a insight and, you really always know what to say. Right. And then in this episode, he's talking to her and he's like, yeah, I'm sure your friend's not dead. Her bloated corpse would have washed up already. Like,
Right, yeah, he makes a serious conversation mistake. And like even Masome is like, dude, it's called tact. Come on.
and then Simon decides it's a funny joke and he wants to get into it. And he's like, don't worry. We don't serve people at Russian sushi. We're not serving your dead friend to you with fish.
Yeah, he's like, the sushi is not made with human meat, even on half price day, I promise. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Um, so in the next scene, we see the kidnappers. They're driving the car, and they're all like fucked up from the chloroform since that guy spilt it all over his sweatshirt. And the kidnappee, he convinces them to dump the dolt who spilt all the sleeping juice everywhere because he notices that his cell phone is in the pocket of the guy who spilled the chloroform all over himself. So he's hoping that, that cell phone might be kind of like a link or like a breadcrumb to kind of help find him. And he convinces them, and they actually do. They do drop the guy off. They just dump his sleeping body in a bush on the side of the road.
Right. So, these kidnappers, they've been in the show before. I mean, you said you forgot them. I kind of remember them as distinct characters. You've got one handsome guy in a suit and glasses, and then you've got the fat guy who drives the van, and then they've got this like short guy, almost looks like a kid
Hmm.
who kidnaps with them, and he's the one who they boot out of the car, all unconscious, covered in chloroform.
Right. So, Keone and the other dollars, I think, like riding the coattails of that like mysterious text, they go and they check out the safe house, that
Right.
and they see
They
that
they
it's been ransacked, and so also another thing to mention is there's kind of a new member who's like tagging along with them who we haven't seen very much in other episodes. And he's got long hair and he wears like a vest.
no.
No, with Kiyohei and Erica and Walker.
So yeah, they came to see him. They brought him a plate from Russian sushi, and then they also brought him some Russian sushi.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
such swell guys.
They're like, yeah, we brought him an old plate from Russian sushi, and when they get there, uh, Walker's like, look, it's not a plate that broke; it was a bowl that broke. Because there's a broken bowl on the floor.
Right. It was just a strange coincidence. Or maybe that really was what he was trying to text him. Maybe he was more worried about the ball. So Kiyohei, Erica, Walker, they all decide to rescue this guy. And they find that this one child who was there when the kidnappers entered the safe house, he was it he or she? I couldn't really tell, but they were hiding anyways, and they happened to catch a glimpse of the car that they're driving, so he was able to give them the what kind of make and model the car was, as along with the license plate number.
Right, and I think it's around this point that Karuta explains that the kidnapped man, Kaztano, is very important to his friend because Kaztano is a Tokyo street scalper who gets his friend the greatest tickets to see some generic idol girl.
Right, yeah, he's got like this obsession with an idol, and he got a front row, front row seats, so that meant a great deal to him.
Right, so they absolutely have got to find him. Karuta makes a call to Celti to put her on the job, and she is watching a documentary about UFOs.
Oh yeah, you know what? I took that as it being like some kind of like funny X-Files spoof because the music that they're playing for it sounds like it's a parody of the intro to X-Files.
All right. I was wondering, do you think is this them hiring Celti for a job, or is this them as dollars reaching out to her, potentially another dollar to help save their friend?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that exactly. I mean, they didn't talk about anything that like they didn't talk about payment or anything like that, so that seems like it could be that they're trying to suggest that Celti might have some link to the dollars.
Right. So he's talking to Shinra, who writes down the details of the case and hands them to Celti as she heads out.
Right. And then we get kind of like this little dialogue or narration rather from Shinra that explains that there's this evil corporation that hires kidnappers to take foreigners to them so that they can conduct these creepy experiments on them.
Right, and we get a brief scene between two lab-coated strangers, and one kind of threatens the other one. She's like, "Hey, we need to get these kidnapping victims in here. Maybe I'll start experimenting on you."
Right. Yeah, two asshole scientists, and the girl seems to have a thing for Seiji, because she looks at a photo of them together, and she's saying things like, "Oh, Seiji, when will we be together?" or something like that,
Right.
something along those lines.
And I think, if I remember correctly, she looks at their picture and then like hugs it to her bosom.
Right. Oh man, the bosom hug. That's rough. Uh, so we also see a glimpse of a girl's head in a cylindrical tank. Uh, Probably Celti's head.
Right, yeah, I'm sure it looks like the heads. Have we seen her head in flashbacks? Perhaps. Anyway.
I'm not sure if I think we've seen it a couple times, but like it was kind of like in a flashback in like where the shadow was kind of covering the front of her face, so you couldn't see it in its entirety. But
Yeah, right. Fair guess that it's Celti's head. You
yeah,
don't have to have the intuition of Mikado to discern that it's probably.
right. So now Celti is on the hunt. She's looking around. She's on her motorcycle trying to find this car, and I think she sees a car that she thinks might be it, but she wants to check the license plate number, and she checks her slip of paper that Shinra gave it to her, and she finds out that he gave her the grocery list instead of the plate number. So that must be incredibly frustrating. I really felt for Celti in that moment.
Right. So now she's driving around and has nowhere to go and no idea what to do. But meanwhile, Karuta and his gang have like hit the streets. They're like looking around a section of Tokyo, and the driver, he actually, I guess he has one of Kaztano's possessions, and he enlists the help of a skinny stray dog, has him sniff something, and then goes like, "Go!" and the dog kind of walks away.
Yeah, I have no idea where that dog came from, but so they call Kazatono, or is that how you say his name? Kazatono?
They were
I'm so
saying
bad with it.
Kaztano, right? So, but there's a really quick part here where like Kadada's doing the narration and the backstory of the his friend in Kaztano, and then it's revealed that he's actually like saying this out loud, kind of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, so we learned that Kyohei knew this guy since he was a kid, and again, it goes over the whole thing where he was a ticket scalper, and he got those tickets for Saburo, and then like Erica and Walker walk up to him, and he's talking out loud, and he's basically caught red-handed narrating to us, the viewers. So that was kind of a funny moment.
Right. So yeah, they give a call to Kaztano's cell phone, and it's ringing in the pocket of the passed out dude. And who should pick it up but Isaiah?
Right. And so Isaiah says he just happened to be walking past and he heard the phone ringing and he picked it up and he's actually able to tell Kiyohei where his location is. But then very quickly something big and heavy is thrown at him by Shizuo.
And he has to run away. So he was able to give the location of the phone, and he kind of plays it off like it's a coincidence. But here we've got him setting up the kidnapping of Kaztano by apparently directing the kidnappers to that building. And then we've got him here setting up the rescue of Kaztano by just happening to be by the kidnapper's body when they called the phone.
Right.
So it's possible he orchestrated the whole thing just for the lulz, but
Yeah,
that would
that's
be some.
totally an Isaiah thing to do. Like he just finds all this stuff interesting. He doesn't you know, any turn it takes is fun for him, so he'll go along with it.
Right, but if he really did plan things out to go this way, that is some Ozymandias level of event manipulation.
Right. So they so now that they have the location, they find the guy who's passed out in the bush, and Kiyohei uses the kidnapper's phone and pretends to be him by pinching his nose and talking nasally, which is funny because like he's got like this guy who's passed out in the bush, he's got that like generic villainous voice that like nasally, like every villain has it, and I thought it was just kind of funny that the way he tricks him is just by plugging his nose. So yeah, he gets the pickup location from the other guys in the van, and they're like all celebrating the fact that they've been able to pull this off. And in the middle of their celebration, um, Saburo just punches the guy who's sleeping in the bush straight in the face.
Right, this is actually my favorite moment of the episode. So like, there's what I'm guessing is non-literal confetti is like flying around them, or at least they're fantasizing it that way, and they're all cheering and celebrating that they cracked the case. And the kidnapper like wakes up. They wake him up by celebrating like this, and he's like, "Who are you guys?" And in the Japanese version, at least, this is really great moment. He was like, "We're the Dora Zoo," and he punches him in the face. Like,
Yeah, he just says we're the dollars. That's not as fun, but so then Kione is speculating that maybe Isaiah started the dollars after this scene. He gives kind of like this whole background about the dollars again, and he seems to think that maybe Isaiah is responsible for the whole group.
right. So he kind of talks about how he first joined the Dollars, that he was already, closely tied with this group of friends. And then one day he got a random anonymous email saying, I invite you to join the Dollars. Here's the information for the website.
Right. And he said that, he wasn't sure if it was a joke or not, but he joined it and then yeah, he got an email back with a name and password.
So I really like Karota and his whole gang. I like that they're basically the allies of justice, and they just kind of use the Dollars as a name for them to go around and right wrongs around Ikebukuro.
Right. Yeah, they're a really fun group. Like I really like them. Even he says like, we've turned out to be quite the ragtag group of people.
Right. And though Karota says he appreciates that there's no like rules or authority structure in the Dollars, he does wish that he could meet whoever is the original founder of the Dollars.
Right.
We see a really brief scene. Celty rides past Isaiah, who's chilling in the park, and he remarks like, the thing you're looking for isn't that way, Celty.
Right. Um and then briefly she meets up with Shizuo.
Right, but I think they just kind of wave, and do they even say anything?
No, but I didn't know if maybe that might be something that's going to come up later in the next episode because I'm wondering why they bothered to show us that scene where he waves but and then it looks like she pulls over her motorcycle quick, but then it just cuts right to the next scene.
Right. Okay, so then Karutas gang, knowing the meeting point, show up to confront the kidnappers, and for a moment they do kind of stand off as if they're going to fight.
Right, yeah. So they confront the kidnappers, and it's, it's funny. In the English dub, anyways, one of them, he's holding this lead pipe, and he says, "Meet your doom." And then like Erica and Walker are like, "Oh, that's a classic line." And then they also say like, "But who says that?"
But before they can begin fighting, Celty just happens to start driving by, and the kidnappers recognize her and freak out.
Yeah, they hightail it out of there. But they do leave Kazatono. They drop him off before they take off. So Kyohei and his gang are chasing after them.
Right, so Celty doesn't even end up following them. They completely misunderstood the situation again. Celty doesn't even know who she's looking for, but they run away from her in fear. Another car chase ensues, and so they've crashed their car again, and Kadata's kind of grabbing him by the collar like he's going to punch him in the face, and he's like, "Tell me about who you work for. Where are you taking these kidnapping victims?"
Right. After they manage to catch them, we see kind of a scene where they take the guy back. He's in the back of the van, and I think they're kind of joking about like torturing the guy. Kyohei says like, "Well, don't use gasoline in the car this time, at least."
And they pull out a few manga, it looks like, and they're like, choose one of these, and the theme of your torture will be based on the series you like.
Right, and then we see kind of like this goofy clip of them like in the back of the van with him, and you see at one point like Erica's holding tongs with a hot coal in it, and then and then in another quick scene we see Walker with like some kind of like hypodermic needle or something. But I don't know if we're supposed to take that as they really were torturing them, or if they were just maybe trying to scare him with those things.
Right, it's just a goof. They were
Right.
intimidating him, but he does give up the information, and the whole gang drives by Yagiri Pharmacy Corporation, which is a walled off, mysterious building in Ikebukuro.
Right. And so now we know the name of these particular villains.
Right, and Yagiri is also the last name of Seiji,
Ah. See, I
which
didn't even know that.
which makes sense because in the next scene, the lady from the previous scene in the lab coat is on the phone with Seiji, and she's like, "Don't worry, use all the money you want, just keep like hanging and banging with your girlfriend." And he's like, "Thanks a lot," and she hangs up the phone and is thinking about him lovingly. But what weirds me out about that scene is that like it's first thing in the morning, and Seiji and the Scarneck girl are walking around Tokyo like still doing stuff apparently at the crack of dawn.
Yeah, they're kind of a weird couple, aren't they? But yeah, so we find out that the scientist girl is Seiji's sister, and that she is providing him with an income. So it kind of makes the earlier scene a little creepy about how she was kind of maybe being a little too acting a little too infatuated with her brother.
Right, but it is an anime, so you're gonna get a lot of that.
That's true. That's just par for the course.
And that explains one thing, Brian. You said that at one point Mikado in a previous episode was like trailing Seiji, and he was being followed by suited men. That
Hmm.
might be the explanation for that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
not only is she keeping him flush with cash, but she's monitoring him as well.
Right.
That's the end.
Yeah, that's the end of the episode. I thought, like, it kind of ends with a dialogue about how Kazatono is, like, safe and sound and how they're happy that everything worked out. It was, like, a really upbeat kind of ending compared to a lot of the other episodes, I thought.
Right, yeah. I really loved this episode. I love Kadata's gang. I like, that we learn a lot about the dollars and we see the kind of organization the dollars really can be. And for me, the first time I watched Durarara, that moment when they're celebrating and like they declare themselves as the dollars, and then Kadata explains that they really are dollars. To me, that was like really interesting, exciting for me.
Yeah, I actually think this, I would say this is tied with kind of Celty's introduction episode for me. So I like them both a lot.
But yeah, great episode. Unfortunately, no tweets this week. I guess our Twitter followers are slacking.
Yeah, come on, slackers. Get with the program.
Yeah, maybe we'll introduce some new segment next week to have to put something at the end of the show. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
So yeah, again, watch the next episode and then tweet us your comments. Next episode is episode 7. So watch it, hit us up with your comments, and we'll read them on the show.
Yeah. So take care, everyone.
Or don't, means nothing to me. I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you guys want, you should check out my YouTube channel. It's a great figure hoarder, all one word. You can type that into YouTube and find me, and it's like about anime collectibles and figures and wall scrolls and stuff like that. So if that's something that you're into, go ahead and give it a go.
Oh my god, I think I'm gonna go watch it right now.